She thought the threats were random until she discovered they were orchestrated by the one man who promised to protect her. Ava Laurent, a millionaire heiress trying to rebuild her life after a humiliating breakup, hires a principled bodyguard named Micah Cole when terrifying emails start arriving at her door. But when a single photograph catches them in an innocent moment, the media explodes, sponsors flee, and Micah loses everything. What Ava doesn't know yet is that her ex-fiancé manufactured the entire crisis, the threats, the scandal, the setup, all to force her back under his control. Now she must choose: protect her pristine image and lose the one man who truly kept her safe, or risk everything by telling a truth that could destroy them both. Subscribe and tell me where you're watching from, because this story of manipulation, redemption, and a love built on honesty will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about trust. The email came at 9 in the morning, just like the others. Ava Laurent stood by the tall window in her townhouse office, staring at her phone. The city stretched below her. Old brick buildings mixed with new glass towers, the harbor gleaming in the distance. Everything looked normal, safe, but her hands shook as she read the message again. You think you're untouchable? You're not. Monday will prove that. 3 weeks of these messages. 3 weeks of her stomach twisting every time her phone buzzed. She'd ignored the first few. Rich people got weird messages all the time, but these felt different. They knew things: where she'd had lunch, what car she drove, the name of her dry cleaner. Ava. Nadia Cruz appeared in the doorway, tablet in hand. Her assistant was only a year older than Ava, but somehow always seemed steadier, more certain. We need to talk about this. It's probably nothing. Ava set her phone down carefully, as if it might bite. Just some angry person online? It's not nothing. Nadia walked to the desk and turned her tablet around. These emails aren't coming from a random account. Someone's routing them through different servers, different locations. Whoever this is, they're serious about staying hidden. Ava sank into her chair. The leather was soft, expensive. Everything in this house was expensive. Sometimes she wondered if that was the problem, if having money made her a target, if being visible made her vulnerable. What do you want me to do? She asked quietly. I already called Evan Park's security firm. Nadia's voice was firm but kind. He's coming over this morning with someone he trusts. Ava wanted to argue. She'd spent the last 6 months building her life back after Blake, after the humiliation of a broken engagement splashed across every gossip site. She'd wanted to prove she could stand on her own, that she didn't need anyone. But fear was louder than pride. Okay, she said. Okay. Evan Park arrived at 9:30 with a man who seemed to fill the doorway, without trying. Ava stood as they entered her office. Evan was 41, graying at the temples, with the kind of sharp eyes that missed nothing. She'd met him twice at charity events. He ran the best security firm on the East Coast. The man with him was younger, tall and broad-shouldered, with dark brown skin and close-cropped hair. He wore a simple black suit that fit perfectly, and his eyes swept the room once, cataloging, measuring, before settling on her face. Ms. Laurent, Evan said. This is Micah Cole, former Army MP, best protective specialist I have. Micah stepped forward and extended his hand. Ma'am? His handshake was firm, but brief, professional. His voice was deep and calm, the kind of voice that made you feel like everything would be fine, even if it wasn't. Thank you for coming, Ava said. She gestured to the chairs across from her desk. Please, sit. Evan sat. Micah remained standing, his eyes already moving to the windows, the doors, the sightlines. Ava found herself watching him. There was something careful about the way he moved. deliberate, like he was always 3 steps ahead of whatever might happen next. "I've reviewed the emails," Evan said, pulling out a folder. "Nadia sent them over this morning. This isn't a prank. Whoever this is has access to your schedule, your routines. We need to take it seriously." "What does that mean?" Ava asked. "It means close protection?" Evan looked at her steadily. 24/7 coverage starting today. Micah will shadow you everywhere, home, work, events, everywhere. Ava's chest tightened. "For how long?" "Let's start with 1 week," Evan said. "Through Sunday. We'll monitor the situation, work with law enforcement, see if the threats continue or escalate. But right now, your safety is the priority." She wanted to say no. She wanted to say she'd handled enough scrutiny, enough people watching her every move. But the email had said Monday, and today was Monday. "What are the rules?" she asked. Micah spoke for the first time since the handshake. "Transparency. You tell me everywhere you're going, everyone you're meeting. No surprises. No last-minute changes without running them through me first." His tone was respectful but firm. This wasn't a negotiation. "And in return?" Ava met his eyes. They were dark brown, steady, unreadable. "In return, I keep you safe." He paused. "And I stay professional. This is a protection contract, Ms. Laurent. Nothing more. No personal entanglements, no crossed lines. You get my skill and my focus, and that's it." Something about the way he said it made her believe him. This wasn't a man who bent his own rules. "Okay," she said softly. 1 week. Evan slid a contract across the desk. Ava signed it without reading all the fine print. Nadia would check it later. Right now, she just wanted to feel less afraid. When Evan left, Micah stayed. He walked through the townhouse slowly, room by room. Ava followed at a distance, watching him check windows, test locks, study the angles from the street. He didn't touch anything unnecessarily. Didn't ask intrusive questions. Just observed, calculated, made notes on his phone. "You have a back entrance?" he asked when they returned to the first floor. "Through the kitchen, to the garden." "I'll need a key and the alarm code." He looked at her. "The real one, not a guest code." Ava hesitated, then nodded. Letting someone into your life like this, it felt strange, intimate in a way she hadn't expected. Nadia appeared with a spare key and wrote down the code. Micah took both, then turned to Ava. "You have anything scheduled today?" "Investor brunch at 11, downtown." "Where downtown?" Ava told him the restaurant name. Micah typed it into his phone, frowned slightly. "Lot of foot traffic there. Sidewalk tables. Hard to control the perimeter." He looked up. "We'll arrive through the back if they have one. Leave the same way. You'll sit with your back to the wall, me between you and the entrance." "That seems excessive." "It's thorough." His voice stayed even. "Someone threatened you, Ms. Laurent. Until we know who and why, we assume they're serious." Ava wrapped her arms around herself. The house suddenly felt smaller. "Okay. We leave in 40 minutes. That gives me time to check the route, identify exits, coordinate with the restaurant." He paused. "You'll ride with me? My vehicle. I drive." "I have a driver." "Not anymore. Not this week." He said it gently, but there was no room for argument. "It's about control. I need to know who's behind the wheel, where we're going, how we get there. Trust me on this." Ava took a breath, nodded. Micah walked toward the front door, then turned back. "Ms. Laurent?" "Yes?" "This is going to feel invasive. I know that. But I'm good at what I do. And what I do is keep people safe." His expression softened just slightly. "You hired me because you're scared. That's smart. Now let me do my job, and maybe by Sunday, you'll be less scared." Something in his voice made her shoulders drop. made the tightness in her chest ease just a fraction. "Thank you," she said quietly. He nodded once, then left to bring the car around. At 10:30, Ava stood on her front steps, purse in hand, heart racing for reasons she couldn't quite name. The SUV idling at the curb was black and spotless. Micah stood beside the back door, one hand resting lightly on the handle. He scanned the street, left, right, across, before meeting her eyes. "Ready?" he asked. Ava walked down the steps. The morning sun was warm on her shoulders, but she felt cold anyway. Micah opened the door. "Watch your head." She slid into the back seat. The interior smelled like leather and something clean, maybe cedar. Micah closed the door gently, then moved around to the driver's seat. As he pulled away from the curb, Ava looked back at her townhouse. It had been her sanctuary after Blake, after the breakup that everyone had an opinion about. This was supposed to be her fresh start. Her proof that she didn't need anyone. Now she had a stranger driving her to brunch. "You okay back there?" Micah's voice came through the rearview mirror. "Fine," she lied. He didn't push, just drove, smooth and steady, taking side streets she didn't recognize. After a few minutes, Ava realized he wasn't using the main roads. He was avoiding predictability. "How long have you done this?" she asked. "Security? 8 years? Army before that?" "Why did you leave the Army?" A pause. "Wanted to choose my assignments. Protect people who needed it, not just follow orders." It was a careful answer. Honest, but not overly personal. Ava appreciated that. "Evan said you're the best," she said. In the mirror, she saw the corner of his mouth lift slightly. "Evan's a good boss. He'd say that about all his people." "But it's true?" Micah's eyes flicked to the mirror, meeting hers for just a second. "I'm very good at keeping people safe, Ms. Laurent. That's not arrogance. It's just fact." Ava believed him. The restaurant was tucked into a historic district, all brick and ivy, and sidewalk tables full of people enjoying the spring morning. Micah parked 2 blocks away in a narrow alley behind a bakery. "Stay here until I come around," he said. Ava waited. Through the tinted window, she watched him scan the alley, check his phone, speak briefly into a small earpiece she hadn't noticed before. Then he opened her door. "We'll walk through the bakery, out the side door, and into the restaurant's back entrance. The manager knows we're coming." "You called ahead?" "I called ahead." They walked quickly, but not frantically. Micah stayed half a step behind and to her left, his body angled to block her from the street. Inside the bakery, the smell of fresh bread made Ava's stomach twist with hunger and nerves. They passed through a narrow hallway, past the kitchen, and out into the restaurant's back prep area. A manager met them, smiling nervously. "Ms. Laurent, Mr. Cole, right this way." The table was perfect. Corner booth, back to the wall, clear view of the entrance. Ava slid in. Micah took the chair across from her, positioned so he could see the entire dining room. "I'll be right here," he said quietly. "You have your meeting. I'm just furniture." But he wasn't. He was impossible to ignore. Not because he was intrusive, but because he was present, aware, watching. Ava's investors arrived. 3 women in their 50s, all smiles and air kisses. They talked about market trends, brand partnerships, expansion opportunities. Ava tried to focus. But every time someone walked past the table, she felt Micah's attention sharpen. Every time the front door opened, his gaze tracked the newcomer. It should have made her more nervous. Instead, it made her feel safer. The meeting went well. The women loved her ideas for the fall campaign. They asked about her personal life only once, gently, carefully, and Ava deflected with practiced ease. No, she wasn't seeing anyone. Yes, she was focusing on work. No, the breakup didn't still sting. Lies, all of it, but necessary ones. As they finished dessert, Ava noticed movement outside. Through the window, a cluster of people with cameras. Paparazzi. Someone must have tipped them off. Micah noticed too. He stood smoothly, leaned down to speak near her ear. We're leaving through the back again. Stay close to me. They're just photographers, Ava said. I'm used to it. Doesn't mean you have to deal with it today. He guided her out of the booth, one hand hovering near her elbow, but not quite touching. They said quick goodbyes to the investors. Micah led her through the dining room, back toward the kitchen. But the paparazzi were faster. Two of them pushed through the front door just as Ava and Micah reached the hallway. Cameras up, shouting questions. Ava, who's the guy? Is this your new boyfriend? What happened with Blake? Micah stepped between Ava and the cameras. Not aggressive, not shoving, just positioning his body as a barrier. Gentlemen, he said calmly. Ms. Laurent's leaving. Please step back. One photographer, younger, more aggressive, moved closer. Come on, man. Just one shot. No shots today. Micah's voice stayed level. I'm asking politely. Step back. Public space, buddy. Restaurant's private property. Micah didn't raise his voice, didn't make threats. Just stated facts. And you're blocking the hallway. That's a fire code violation. So, I'm going to ask one more time. Please, step back. Something in his tone made the photographer hesitate. Maybe it was the steadiness, the complete lack of aggression or fear. Micah wasn't trying to intimidate. He was just immovable. The photographer lowered his camera. Whatever, man. Micah guided Ava past them into the kitchen, out the back. The alley was empty. The SUV waited exactly where they'd left it. Inside the vehicle, Ava exhaled hard. Thank you. Micah pulled into traffic, eyes on the mirrors. They'll try again, probably at your next event. I know. We'll be ready. Ava looked at the back of his head, the precise line of his haircut, the set of his shoulders. He de-escalated that situation without raising his voice, without making a scene. Blake would have yelled, made threats, turned it into a drama that fed the photographers exactly what they wanted. Micah had just removed the problem. You're good at this, she said softly. In the mirror, his eyes met hers. That's why you hired me. They drove in silence for a while. Ava watched the city slide past. Familiar streets, familiar buildings, a life she'd built and rebuilt and was now defending from invisible threats. What's next on your schedule? Micah asked as they neared her neighborhood. Charity dinner tonight, at the Grandview Hotel. What time? 7. I'll need the details. Guest list if you have it. Floor plan of the venue. Nadia can send all that. Good. He turned onto her street. We'll leave at 6:30. That gives me time to walk the location first. He pulled up to her townhouse, scanned the area, then came around to open her door. As Ava stepped out, she paused. Micah? Yes, ma'am? You don't have to call me ma'am. Ava is fine. He considered that. On duty, I'll stick with Ms. Laurent. Keeps things clear. Clear? Professional? He met her eyes. Boundaries matter, especially in work like this. Ava nodded slowly. She understood. This man took his job seriously. Took himself seriously. There would be no blurred lines, no confusion. Part of her appreciated that. Part of her felt strangely disappointed. I'll pick you up at 6:30, Micah said. Wear comfortable shoes. The hotel has old floors. Lots of uneven marble. Then he waited until she unlocked her door, stepped inside, and locked it behind her. Only when she waved from the window did he return to the SUV and drive away. Ava stood in her quiet house, heart still racing, and realized something surprising. For the first time in weeks, she felt just a little bit safe. The charity dinner was elegant and exhausting. The Grandview Hotel was one of those historic places that looked beautiful in photos, but felt cold in person. High ceilings, crystal chandeliers, too much marble. Ava wore a simple black dress and the comfortable shoes Micah had suggested. Nadia had sent him the floor plan and guest list that afternoon. By the time they arrived at 6:45, Micah had already walked the venue twice. "Exits here, here, and here," he said quietly as they entered the ballroom. "Restrooms down that hallway. Stay in public areas. If you need to leave the room, text me first." "I'm just going to a dinner," Ava said. "Not a war zone." "Prepared is prepared." He gave her a look that might have been almost humor. "Go charm your donors. I'll be close." He was. All night, Ava felt his presence, not hovering, not intrusive, just there. Standing near the wall, eyes moving, hands loose at his sides. When someone approached too quickly, Micah would shift slightly, just enough to be noticeable. When the crowd pressed too close, he'd create space without seeming to move at all. It was like watching a dance she hadn't known existed. Around 8 o'clock, Ava excused herself to use the restroom. She texted Micah as instructed. He appeared in the hallway 30 seconds later. "Just checking," he said. "I'm fine." "I know, just checking." When she came back out, he was still there, waiting. She walked past him and for just a second caught the scent of his cologne, something clean and understated, like rain. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For not making me feel like a prisoner." Micah's expression softened. "You're not a prisoner, Ms. Laurent. You're someone who had the courage to ask for help. That's different." Ava felt something catch in her chest. She nodded quickly and returned to the ballroom. The dinner ended at 10. Micah brought the SUV to the front entrance, helped her in, drove them back through quiet streets. When they reached her townhouse, he walked her to the door. "Get some rest," he said. "Tomorrow's Tuesday, lighter schedule according to Nadia. Just a few meetings, nothing major." "Good." He paused. "Ms. Laurent?" "Yes." "You did well today. Stayed calm, followed the plan. Made my job easier." It was a small compliment, professional, but it warmed her anyway. "Good night, Micah." "Good night." He waited until she was inside, until the alarm was set, until the lights in her bedroom window came on. Then he drove away into the night, and Ava stood in her quiet house, wondering why she already missed the feeling of being watched over. Tuesday morning arrived with bad news. Ava was drinking coffee in her kitchen when Nadia burst through the door, phone in hand, face pale. "We have a problem," Nadia said. She turned her phone around. On the screen was a gossip blog, one of the trashy ones that thrived on scandal. The headline made Ava's stomach drop. "Heiress, Ava Lauren's secret night with mysterious bodyguard, hotel room scandal rocks." Sponsors below the headline were photos. Grainy, but clear enough. Ava and Micah in the hotel hallway last night. Time-stamped 10:48 p.m. Another photo of them standing close together near what looked like a hotel room door. "What is this?" Ava's voice came out shaky. "We went to a charity dinner, that's all." "I know that," Nadia scrolled frantically. "But someone's spinning it. Look at the story. They're saying you two spent the night together, that he went into your room, that this is some kind of torrid affair." Ava's coffee went cold in her hands. "That's not what happened." "I know, but 3 sponsors have already called this morning. They're nervous. The brand image we've been rebuilding after Blake? This threatens all of it." "It's a lie." "It doesn't matter." Nadia's voice cracked. "People believe what they read." Ava sat down hard. 6 months. 6 months of clawing her way back from the humiliation of Blake's betrayal. 6 months of proving she was strong, independent, worthy, and now this. Her phone buzzed. A text from Micah. Saw the article? Don't respond publicly. I'm coming over. 20 minutes later, he was in her living room. He looked tired, like maybe he hadn't slept much, but his voice was steady. The photos are real, he said, but the story's fiction. Tell that to my sponsors, Ava said bitterly. We will. Micah pulled out his own phone. I've already called Evan. He's pulling security footage from the hotel. Time-stamped, verifiable. It'll show I never entered your room, that I stayed in the hallway the entire time. Why were you in the hallway? Nadia asked. Fire alarm, Micah said simply. Around 10:40. Small one, probably a kitchen malfunction. Protocol is to shelter guests temporarily. I moved Ms. Laurent to the nearest safe space, which happened to be an empty suite, and stood guard at the door. Once the all-clear came, I escorted her back to the public areas. That's it. That's the whole story. Ava's throat tightened. But someone took photos. Someone with a telephoto lens and bad intentions. Micah's jaw set. This is a hit piece. Question is, who benefits? Nadia and Ava exchanged a glance. Blake? Ava said quietly. This is exactly his style. Ruin my reputation, so I come running back, grateful for his protection. Maybe, Micah said. But we need proof, not guesses. What do we do? Ava asked. Micah looked at her steadily. We tell the truth. Evan's getting the footage. We'll release a simple statement. Professional security detail, false rumors, verified by hotel records, clean and factual. And if that's not enough? Ava's voice broke. If sponsors still pull out? Micah was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I'll accept any consequence that falls on me, but I won't lie to protect optics. Truth or nothing, that's how I operate. Something in those words hit Ava hard. Truth or nothing. How many people in her life operated that way? How many people chose integrity over convenience? Not Blake, not her mother, always worried about appearances, not even herself most of the time. But this man she'd hired 3 days ago, was willing to lose everything rather than bend the truth. Okay, Ava said softly. Okay, we do it your way. Micah nodded. I'll coordinate with Evan. We'll have the footage and a statement by end of day. He stood to leave. At the door, he turned back. Ms. Laurent, for what it's worth, I'm sorry this happened. You didn't deserve it. Then he was gone, and Ava was left sitting in her living room, Nadia beside her, wondering how a week that had started with fear had somehow become about something much more complicated, something that felt dangerously like trust. By Tuesday at 10 o'clock, Ava sat in Evan Park's office with Nadia, Micah, and a laptop showing hotel security footage. The video was grainy but clear enough. Timestamp 10:42 p.m., Micah and Ava walking down the hallway. A brief conversation. Then Micah stepping into an open doorway, not entering the room, just standing in the threshold. The door stayed open. At 10:51, they both stepped back into the hallway. Micah's hand never left the doorframe. At 10:56, they walked away together, back toward the elevators. 9 minutes. That's all it had been. 9 minutes of following safety protocol during a false alarm. This clears him, Evan said. Completely. He never entered the room, never closed the door, never crossed a single line. So we release this? Nadia asked. We could. Evan leaned back in his chair. Or we could handle this more quietly. Pay the blog to take down the story. Issue a vague statement about professional conduct and move on. No. Micah's voice was firm. No payoffs, no vague statements. We release the footage with a clear timeline. The truth. All of it. Evan looked at him. That keeps the story alive. Draws more attention. Maybe. But it's honest. Micah met Ava's eyes. I won't let Ms. Laurent's reputation be built on hush money and spin. That's not protection. That's just a different kind of trap. Ava's chest tightened. This man had nothing to gain from taking a stand. He could have accepted a quiet payout, moved on to his next client, let her clean up her own mess, but he wouldn't, because his integrity meant more than convenience. Release the footage, Ava said quietly, with a simple statement: professional security detail, false allegations, facts only. Evan nodded. I'll have it ready by noon. One more thing, Micah said. He pulled out his phone, showed Evan a message. I got this an hour ago, from a reputation management firm, offering me $50,000 to step away quietly and sign an NDA. Ava's breath caught. Who sent it? The message doesn't say, but the firm has one major client in this city. Micah's expression was hard. Blake Renshaw's family, Nadia swore under her breath. Ava just closed her eyes. He's trying to buy you off, she said. He tried. I declined. Micah, $50,000 isn't worth my reputation. Micah's voice gentled slightly. Ms. Laurent, I know you think you're a burden right now, but you're not. You're someone who asked for help and got targeted for it. That's not your fault, and I'm not going anywhere until this contract ends on Sunday, unless you fire me yourself. The room went quiet. Ava looked at this man who barely knew her, who had every reason to walk away, who was choosing to stay simply because it was right. Thank you, she whispered. Micah nodded once, then he stood. I'll be outside. Let me know when the statement's ready. When he left, Nadia turned to Ava. He's a good one. I know. I mean really good, the kind you don't find often. Ava just nodded. Her throat was too tight to speak. The statement went live at noon. Clean, factual, backed by time-stamped footage. Within an hour, the original gossip blog had taken down their story, but the damage was already spreading. By 2 o'clock, Ava's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Sponsors, board members, friends who weren't really friends. Everyone wanted to know what was happening. Everyone had advice. And then Blake called. Ava stared at his name on her screen. She hadn't spoken to him in 6 months. Not since the day she'd found out he'd been feeding stories about her to the press to boost his own family's business profile. Not since the day she'd realized their entire relationship had been a transaction for him. She almost didn't answer. But then she thought about Micah's words. Truth or nothing. What do you want, Blake? She said. His voice was smooth, practiced. I saw the news. I wanted to make sure you're okay. I'm fine. Are you? Because this Bodyguard situation looks messy. I know a better firm, more discreet. I could make a call. No. Ava, be reasonable. Your sponsors are nervous. Your brand is fragile right now. You need someone who understands optics. Someone like you? Ava's voice went cold. Is that why you had your people offer Micah money to leave? So I'd come running back to you? Silence. Then, carefully. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Ava stood, walked to her office window. The city stretched below, busy and indifferent. You've been trying to control this narrative from the start. The emails, the photos, maybe even the original threats, all to make me feel unsafe, make me dependent. That's paranoid. Is it? Ava's hands shook. You did it before, Blake. Fed stories to the press, manipulated situations to keep me close. Why would this be different? Another pause. When Blake spoke again, his voice had an edge. You're making a mistake. That man is going to ruin everything you've rebuilt. But fine. Keep him. Just don't call me when this falls apart. He hung up. Ava stood there, heart pounding, phone hot in her hand. Nadia appeared in the doorway. You okay? No, but I will be. Ava turned. Call Evan. I want to extend Micah's contract. 2 weeks instead of 1. Are you sure? The sponsors? I'm sure. Ava's voice was steady now. Certain. Blake's been trying to control me for years. I'm done letting anyone make me afraid of my own choices. Nadia smiled slowly. Okay, boss. I'll make the call. By Tuesday evening, 2 sponsors had paused their contracts. Not canceled, just paused, waiting to see how the situation resolved. It stung, but Ava had expected worse. What she hadn't expected was her mother. Miriam Laurent arrived at 6 o'clock, unannounced, perfectly dressed in cream linen and pearls. She took one look at Ava's face and said, "Where's this bodyguard I've been reading about?" "Mom? I'm not here to judge. I'm here to see for myself." Miriam set her purse down with the kind of precision that meant business. "Call him. I want to meet him." Ava texted Micah. He arrived 15 minutes later, still in his suit, expression carefully neutral. "Mrs. Laurent," he said, extending his hand. "Micah Cole." Miriam studied him like she was appraising art. Then she shook his hand. "You're the man causing all this trouble." "I'm the man doing my job, ma'am." Micah's voice stayed level. "Protecting your daughter." "From what? Photographers? Gossip bloggers?" "From whoever sent those threat emails. And from people who'd use those threats to manipulate her." Miriam's eyes sharpened. "You're talking about Blake." "I'm talking about anyone who values optics over your daughter's actual safety." The room went quiet. Ava held her breath. Her mother had always been about appearances, about maintaining the right image, saying the right things, being seen with the right people. It was how she'd survived society after Ava's father died, how she'd kept the family name intact. But now Miriam looked at Micah and said, "Tell me about your background." So Micah did. Army, military police, 8 years, in private security. Clean record, references available. He kept it professional, factual, but Ava could hear the pride underneath. This was a man who'd built his life on discipline and integrity. When he finished, Miriam was quiet for a long moment. "Stay for dinner," she said finally. "Mom," Ava started. "I want to see how he works." Miriam looked at her daughter. "If you're keeping him, I need to trust him, so let me watch." Ava looked at Micah. He gave a small nod. "I'll stay, if Ms. Laurent approves." "It's fine," Ava said softly. "Stay." Dinner was strange and surprisingly normal. Nadia ordered takeout from a nearby restaurant. Nothing fancy, just good pasta and salad. They ate at Ava's dining table, and Miriam asked questions. Not hostile ones. Just curious. How did Micah plan routes? What was his threat assessment process? How did he handle crowds? Micah answered everything calmly, thoroughly. And Ava watched her mother's expression shift. From skeptical to interested. From interested to something like respect. When dinner ended, Miriam stood to leave. At the door, she turned to Micah. "Keep her safe," she said simply. "That's all I ask." "Yes, ma'am." Miriam looked at Ava. "You're making your own choices now. I might not always agree with them, but I trust you." It was the closest thing to approval Ava had gotten from her mother in years. As the door closed, she felt tears prick her eyes. "That went well," Micah said quietly. "She liked you." "She loves you. There's a difference." He picked up his jacket. "I'll be outside until 10. Then I'll do a perimeter check and head home." "Micah?" He paused. "Yes?" "Thank you. For staying, for being honest with her." "It's my job." "No, the job is keeping me safe. Everything else, the integrity, the kindness, that's just who you are." Micah looked at her for a long moment. Something shifted in his expression. Just slightly, just enough. "Get some rest, Ms. Laurent," he said softly. "Tomorrow's Wednesday. We've got a full schedule." "What's on tomorrow?" "Morning briefing, then a boutique launch at noon. Miriam asked to sit in on the briefing. She wants to understand the security plan. Ava blinked. My mother asked to sit in? She did. Said she wants to be helpful, not a liability. Ava laughed, really laughed, for the first time in days. Who are you, and what have you done with my mother? Micah smiled. Just a little, just enough to transform his face from serious to almost warm. She's protective. Like I said, she loves you. Yeah, Ava said quietly. She does. Wednesday morning, Ava woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee. Nadia had stayed over, something about being ready for the briefing. But really, Ava knew it was about friendship, about not wanting her to face this alone. At 8 o'clock, Micah arrived with Evan and a folder thick with documents. They sat around Ava's dining table, Ava, Miriam, Nadia, Evan, and Micah, and went through the plan. Today's event is high profile, Micah said. New boutique launch. Press, influencers, potential donors, which means lots of cameras and unpredictable crowd flow. He pulled out a hand-drawn map of the venue. Exits here, here, and here. Ms. Laurent will enter through the main door for visibility, but will have the service exit cleared and accessible. 2-car approach, decoy vehicle goes first, we follow 30 seconds behind. A decoy? Miriam asked. Standard protocol for high-attention events, Evan explained. Splits the paparazzi attention, gives Micah time to assess the real threat level before Ms. Laurent exits the vehicle. Miriam studied the map, then looked at Micah. What if someone rushes her? I position myself between the threat and Ms. Laurent. Create distance. Assess intent. Most rushes aren't violent, just overeager fans or photographers, but I treat everything as serious until proven otherwise. And if it is violent? Then I remove Ms. Laurent from the situation. My job isn't to fight. It's to protect. That means retreat, regroup, call for backup. Micah met Miriam's eyes. I'm not a hero, Mrs. Laurent. I'm a professional. I don't take unnecessary risks with your daughter's safety. Miriam sat back slowly. Good. They went over timing, communication protocols, emergency procedures. Ava watched Micah work, patient, thorough, never condescending. When Miriam asked questions, he answered them like they mattered. Because they did. By 9 o'clock, everyone felt ready. 2 cars leave in 30 minutes, Micah said. Ms. Laurent, wear closed-toe shoes. The venue has cobblestone entryways. Mrs. Laurent, if you're attending, you'll ride in the decoy vehicle with Nadia. I'm attending, Miriam said firmly. Ava looked at her mother, surprised. Miriam just shrugged. I want to see how this works. The boutique launch was chaos in the best way. Lights, music, beautiful people wearing beautiful clothes. Ava moved through the crowd, shaking hands, posing for photos, talking about the brand. And through it all, Micah was there. Not hovering, not obvious, just present. When a photographer got too aggressive, Micah stepped between them with a quiet, "Give her space, please." When the crowd pressed too close at the champagne bar, he shifted position, and suddenly there was room to breathe. When someone spilled a drink near Ava's shoes, Micah had napkins ready before she even registered what happened. It was like watching someone conduct an orchestra. Small movements, perfect timing, everything flowing smoothly because he made it flow. Around 1 o'clock, something changed. A man pushed through the crowd, moving fast, face flushed. He was shouting something Ava couldn't hear over the music. People stepped back, startled. Micah moved instantly. Not running, not aggressive. Just there, between Ava and the man. Sir, Micah said, voice calm and firm. I need you to stop. The man tried to push past. Micah sidestepped, blocking him without touching. Sir, stop! Talk to me! I need to talk to her! The man's voice cracked. He was young, maybe 25, and his hands were shaking. She invested in my brother's company and now he's— I understand you're upset, Micah said. His voice dropped lower, steadier. But this isn't the way. You're scaring people. You're scaring yourself. Let's step outside, you and me, and talk this through. I just need her to listen. She will, but not like this. Micah extended his hand. Not aggressive, just offering. Come on, let's get some air. I'll make sure she hears your story. You have my word. The man stared at Micah's hand. His breathing was ragged, panicked. Then, slowly, he took it. Micah led him toward the service exit, speaking quietly the whole time. Ava watched, heart pounding. Nadia appeared at her elbow. Is that man dangerous? Nadia whispered. I don't think so, Ava said. I think he's just scared. 10 minutes later, Micah returned. The man was gone. What happened? Ava asked. His brother's company went under. He blamed your investment firm. I explained you were a passive investor, not management. Gave him the right contact information. Venue security's walking him out. He'll be okay. You didn't have him arrested? He wasn't a threat, just desperate. Micah's expression softened. Sometimes people just need someone to listen, to help them find the right door instead of trying to kick down the wrong one. Ava stared at him. Blake would have had that man dragged out, made a scene, called the police, used it as proof that Ava needed better protection. But Micah had just talked him down, with patience and compassion. Thank you, Ava said quietly. Micah nodded. Then he smiled, small, brief, but real. Let's get you back to the crowd. You've got donors to charm. That evening, during the drive home, Miriam sat in the back seat next to Ava. Nadia rode up front. Micah drove, eyes on the road, quiet as always. He's good, Miriam said softly, so only Ava could hear. I know. I mean, really good. Not just at security, at people. Miriam looked out the window. Blake never understood people, just optics. But this man, Micah, he sees what actually matters. Ava's throat tightened. Yeah, he does. Don't lose him, Miriam said. Whatever it costs. Don't lose someone like that. Ava didn't answer, but she thought about it. About what it meant to build your life around people with integrity instead of convenience. About what it meant to choose truth over optics. About what it might mean to trust someone enough to let them see you clearly. When they reached Ava's townhouse, Micah walked her to the door as always. Miriam and Nadia said their goodbyes, leaving Ava and Micah alone on the porch. You okay? Micah asked. I didn't sleep well last night, Ava admitted. I kept thinking about the sponsors, the articles, everything that could go wrong. Micah was quiet for a moment. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a small card and a box of tea bags. Chamomile, he said. And this. He handed her the card. It had a simple breathing exercise written on it. 4 seconds in, hold 4, 4 seconds out. Repeat until your heart slows down. It helps. Ava took the tea and the card, blinking back sudden tears. You carry chamomile tea? My sister has insomnia. I learned to keep some around. He paused. Try it tonight, and if it doesn't help, text me. I'll talk you through some other options. You'd do that? It's part of keeping you safe, Ms. Laurent. Can't protect someone who's too tired to think straight. He said it matter-of-factly. Like offering to help her sleep was as routine as checking exits and planning routes. Like caring about her well-being was just part of the job. But Ava knew better. This wasn't just professionalism. This was kindness. Real, quiet kindness that didn't ask for anything in return. Thank you, Micah, she whispered. He nodded once. Good night. Lock the door behind you. I will. She went inside, locked the door, and stood in her quiet entryway holding chamomile tea and a breathing card. Through the window, She watched Micah walk back to his SUV, check the perimeter one last time, then drive away. That night, for the first time in weeks, Ava slept. Not perfectly, not for long, but 5 solid hours. And when she woke up Thursday morning, she found herself reaching for her phone before her coffee. "Thank you for the tea. It helped." 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, "Good. We've got a full day today. I'll be there at 8. Ava smiled at her screen. Then she got up, made coffee, and got ready to face another day with a little less fear than before. Because somewhere in the chaos of threats and rumors and scandal, she'd found something unexpected. She'd found someone worth trusting, and that made all the difference. Thursday morning started quietly. Ava woke feeling more rested than she had in weeks. The chamomile had helped, or maybe it was just knowing someone cared enough to offer it. She got dressed in comfortable clothes, jeans, and a soft sweater, and by the time Micah arrived at 7:40, she was ready. "How'd you sleep?" he asked as they walked to the SUV. 5 hours, solid." "That's good." He opened her door. "Today's lighter. Gallery walkthrough at 10, lunch with your brand team at noon, then you're free." "Free sounds nice." They drove through morning traffic, and Ava found herself watching him in the rear view mirror. The way his hands rested easily on the wheel, the way he checked the mirrors every few seconds without seeming nervous. Just aware, always aware. "Can I ask you something?" Ava said. "Sure." "Yesterday, with that man at the boutique, you weren't scared at all. How do you do that?" Micah thought for a moment. "I was scared. But fear's just information. It tells you something might be dangerous. Then you assess, is this actually a threat or just fear talking? That man was scared, not dangerous. Once I understood that, the fear became useful instead of paralyzing." "Fear as information?" Ava repeated softly. "I like that. It helps in this job, and probably in life too." They pulled up to Ava's townhouse. Miriam was waiting on the porch, looking elegant as always in a navy dress. "Morning, Mrs. Laurent," Micah said as she approached. "Miriam, please, we're past formalities now." She smiled at Ava. "I thought I'd join you today, if that's all right." Ava blinked, surprised. "You want to come to a gallery walkthrough?" "I want to see how Micah works in different environments. Call it research." Miriam's eyes sparkled with something Ava couldn't quite name. Maybe pride. Maybe hope. "Besides, I haven't spent this much time with you in months. I've missed it." Ava felt her throat tighten. "Okay, yeah, come with us." The gallery was beautiful. High ceilings, white walls, art that made Ava feel things she didn't have words for. Micah checked the exits first, as always, then positioned himself near the main entrance where he could see everything. Ava and Miriam walked slowly through the space, discussing which pieces might work for the upcoming brand campaign. The gallery owner joined them, enthusiastic and helpful. Everything was going smoothly, until Ava's heel caught on an uneven floorboard near the staircase. She stumbled, arms windmilling, heart lurching. Before she hit the ground, strong hands caught her waist, steadied her, set her upright. "Micah?" He'd crossed the room in seconds, moving so fast Ava hadn't even seen him start. Now he held her gently, firmly, until she found her balance. "You okay?" His voice was low, concerned. Yeah, thank you." For a second, their eyes met. His hands stayed on her waist just long enough to be sure she was steady. Then he stepped back immediately, creating distance, restoring the professional boundary. But Ava felt the warmth of his hands for long minutes after. Miriam watched the whole thing. Later, when they were alone in the gallery's restroom, she turned to Ava. "He didn't hesitate," Miriam said quietly. "Didn't think. Just moved. That's his job. No, his job is protection. That was instinct. Miriam touched Ava's shoulder. He cares about you, not just professionally. Really cares. Mom, I'm not saying it's inappropriate. I'm saying it's real. And real is rare, Ava. Real is worth protecting. Ava didn't know what to say to that, so she just nodded, washed her hands, and returned to the gallery where Micah stood by the window, scanning the street outside like nothing had happened at all. At 3:20 that afternoon, Nadia burst into Ava's office, laptop open, face flushed with excitement. I found it, she said breathlessly. Ava looked up from her desk. Found what? The source, the original threat emails. Nadia set her laptop down, turned it so Ava could see. I've been digging through metadata, tracking IP addresses, following digital trails, and I finally traced them back. The screen showed an email exchange, internal company messages from a PR vendor called Summit Communications. Ava recognized the name. They did work for Blake's family business. Look at the dates, Nadia said, pointing. The threat emails to you started 3 weeks ago. But these internal emails discussing strategic pressure and reputation management opportunities, those started 4 weeks ago. Ava's stomach turned. What are you saying? I'm saying the threats were manufactured. A temp employee at Summit sent them. Someone put him up to it. Nadia scrolled down. And look at this memo. It talks about creating a security need and positioning preferred solutions. Ava, they created the threats to scare you, to push you toward hiring Blake's preferred security firm, to make you dependent again. Ava sat back hard, her chest tight. Blake did this. Maybe, or someone working for him. Either way, the threats weren't real. They were a setup. Ava's hands started shaking. 3 weeks of fear, 3 weeks of looking over her shoulder, jumping at shadows, barely sleeping. All manufactured, all fake. I'm calling Micah, Nadia said, already reaching for her phone. 10 minutes later, Micah stood in Ava's office, reading through Nadia's findings on the laptop. His expression stayed calm, but Ava saw his jaw tighten. This is good work, he said to Nadia. Really good. We need to document everything, send it to Evan and to law enforcement. What happens now? Ava asked. Now we handle it quietly, Micah said. He looked at Ava directly. I know you're angry. You have every right to be, but we don't make this a spectacle. We don't go public with accusations. We just handle it. Truth, not revenge. Blake put me through hell, Ava said, her voice shaking. He made me afraid in my own home, and you want me to handle it quietly? Yes. Micah's voice was gentle but firm. Because going public turns you into someone you're not. Turns this into a scandal that follows you forever. But handling it professionally, documenting it, reporting it, letting the authorities do their job. That protects you without destroying your integrity. Ava closed her eyes. She wanted to scream, to rage, to make Blake pay in public the way he'd made her suffer in private. But Micah was right. Revenge would feel good for a moment. Truth would protect her for a lifetime. Okay, she whispered. We do it your way. Micah nodded. I'll coordinate with Evan. We'll contact Summit, let them know we have proof of the temp's involvement. Give them a chance to fire him quietly. If they don't, we involve law enforcement. But we keep it contained. Professional. Clean. What about Blake? Ava asked. He'll face consequences, maybe not public ones, but his PR vendor will drop him. His reputation with other firms will suffer. People will know, even if they don't say it out loud. Micah's expression softened. Justice doesn't always look like revenge. Sometimes it's quieter, but it's still justice. By Thursday evening, it was done. Summit Communications fired the temp employee, issued a private apology to Ava, severed their contract with Blake's family business. No press releases. No public statements. Just swift, quiet consequences that would ripple through professional circles for years. Blake called Ava once, furious, claiming he had nothing to do with it. She let him rant for 30 seconds, then hung up, blocked his number, moved on. At 6 o'clock, Nadia suggested dinner. But Ava was exhausted, emotionally, physically, completely drained. She just wanted quiet. I booked the beach rental for tomorrow's event prep, Nadia said. Want to go tonight instead? Get away from the city for a few hours? Ava looked at Micah. Would that be safe? I'd need to check the property first, but yeah, it could work. Please, Ava said softly. I just want to hear the ocean. The beach rental was small and perfect, a 2-bedroom cottage with a wide porch overlooking the water. Micah checked every room, every window, every lock. Then he stood on the porch and nodded. It's secure. Good sight lines. Only one access road. I can monitor that easily. Ava stepped onto the porch and breathed in salt air. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. The ocean was steady, rhythmic, endless. Thank you for this, she said. You needed it. Micah leaned against the porch railing, his profile outlined by the fading light. Been a hard week. Hardest of my life, maybe. But you got through it. That's what matters. Ava looked at him, really looked at him. This man who'd stood beside her through scandal and fear and manipulation, who'd chosen integrity every single time, who'd offered her chamomile tea and breathing exercises like they were as natural as checking exits. Can I ask you something personal? She said. Sure. Why do you do this job? Real reason. Micah was quiet for a long moment. The ocean filled the silence. Then he said, I lost someone once, when I was in the army. I was supposed to be on duty, but I got reassigned last minute. Someone else took my post. And that someone else missed something. Didn't catch a threat that should have been obvious. A civilian got hurt, badly. Ava's breath caught. I'm so sorry. It wasn't my fault. Not technically. But it felt like it. Because if I'd been there, I would have caught it. I know I would have. He turned to face her. So now I do this. I protect people who need it. And I never, ever miss a threat. Because I won't let someone else pay for my mistakes again. That's why you're so careful, Ava said softly. Why you never bend the rules. Yeah. Micah smiled sadly. Some people think I'm rigid, but I'm just trying to be unassailable, trying to make sure no one ever gets hurt because I wasn't good enough. Ava stepped closer. You're more than good enough, Micah. You're extraordinary. He looked down at her. Something shifted in his expression, the professional mask, slipping just slightly. You make it easy to care, Ms. Laurent. Ava, she corrected gently. When we're alone, it's Ava. Ava, he repeated. Her name sounded different in his voice, softer, more real. They stood like that for a moment, the sunset fading, the ocean whispering, the space between them charged with something neither could quite name. I should make dinner, Ava said finally. I should check the perimeter. But neither moved. They ordered pizza instead of cooking, sat on the porch with paper plates and cold drinks, and talked until the stars came out. Ava told him about her father, how he'd died when she was 12, leaving her mother to navigate high society alone. How Ava had learned to be perfect, polished, untouchable. How exhausting that had been. Micah told her about his family. 2 sisters, a mother who still called him every Sunday, a father who'd taught him to fix cars and never take shortcuts. How the army had given him structure. How leaving had given him freedom. They laughed about small things, weird clients, bad coffee. The way Nadia could read a room better than anyone. The way Miriam had started texting Micah directly with questions about security protocols. "She's adopted you," Ava said, smiling. "She's protective. I respect that. She likes you. Really likes you." Micah's expression softened. "I like her too. She reminds me of my mom. Fierce, loyal, would fight a bear if it threatened her kid." "Yeah," Ava said quietly. "That's her." The conversation drifted, meandered, circled back. And somewhere around 9 o'clock, it shifted from talking to just being. Sitting in comfortable silence, watching the stars, listening to the waves. "I haven't felt this calm in months," Ava admitted. "Good. You deserve calm." "So do you." Micah looked at her. "This is calm for me. Keeping you safe, knowing you're okay, that's as calm as I need." Ava's heart did something complicated in her chest. "Micah?" "Yeah?" "What happens when this week ends? When Sunday comes and the contract's up?" He was quiet for a long moment. Then, carefully, "What do you want to happen?" "I don't know," Ava whispered. "I just know I don't want this to end." Micah reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and took her hand. His fingers were warm, calloused, gentle. "Then maybe it doesn't have to." "But the rules?" "The rules are about protection, about not crossing lines while I'm on duty." His thumb brushed her knuckles. "But off duty? When we're just two people on a porch watching the ocean? That's different." Ava looked up at him. "Is this off duty? For the next hour?" "Yeah, I'm off the clock. Just a guy talking to someone he paused, seeming to weigh his words. "Someone he cares about." "I care about you too," Ava said. "More than I probably should." "Why shouldn't you?" "Because you're my bodyguard. Because this started as a contract. Because—" Micah stopped her with a gentle squeeze of her hand. "Ava, we're both adults. We both know what this is. We can choose to see where it goes, or we can choose to stay professional and part ways on Sunday. But either choice is ours to make, together." Ava searched his face, saw honesty there, saw care, saw a man who wouldn't push, wouldn't pressure, wouldn't ask for more than she wanted to give. "I want to see where it goes," she said softly. Micah smiled, really smiled, and it transformed his entire face. "Yeah?" "Yeah." He stood slowly, still holding her hand, and pulled her gently to her feet. They stood close, close enough that Ava could feel the warmth radiating from him, close enough to see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. "Can I kiss you?" he asked quietly. Ava nodded, not trusting her voice. Micah cupped her face with one hand, so gentle, like she was something precious, and leaned in. Their lips met softly, carefully, a question and an answer all at once. The kiss deepened slowly. No rush, no urgency, just warmth and connection and the feeling of something long held finally releasing. When they pulled back, Ava was breathless. Micah rested his forehead against hers. "That okay?" he murmured. "More than okay." They kissed again, and again, until laughter bubbled up between them, light, surprised, happy. "We should probably talk about ground rules," Micah said, his voice rough with emotion. "Okay, what rules?" "In public, while I'm on duty, we stay professional. No one needs to see anything that could be used against you. But in private, we're honest. No hiding, no games." "I can live with that." "And if this gets complicated, if it threatens your safety or my ability to do my job?" We pause, reassess, make sure we're both protected. Ava nodded. "Agreed." "Good." Micah kissed her forehead. "Now let's sit back down before I forget I'm supposed to be a professional." They returned to the porch chairs, But this time Micah pulled his close enough that their hands could stay linked. They talked for another hour, about everything and nothing, until Ava started yawning. "Bedtime," Micah said firmly. "Will you stay? In the other room?" "I'll stay. Keep watch. Make sure you're safe." Ava squeezed his hand. "Thank you for everything. Thank you for trusting me." They separated at the hallway. Ava to her room, Micah to his. But before she closed her door, she looked back. He was standing in the hallway, watching her with an expression so tender it made her chest ache. "Good night, Micah." "Good night, Ava." She closed the door, crawled into bed, and fell asleep smiling. For the first time in years, the future felt bright. Friday morning shattered that brightness. Ava woke to her phone buzzing frantically. Texts from Nadia, calls from her mother, notifications from every social media app. She opened her phone and her stomach dropped. Another photo, grainy and taken from a distance, but clear enough. Ava and Micah on the porch last night, silhouettes against the light. Two figures close together. A kiss captured in freeze frame. The headline read, "Confirmed. Heiress Ava Laurent's secret romance with Bodyguard sponsors flee as brand image crumbles." Ava scrolled frantically. The article was brutal. Quotes from anonymous sources saying she was reckless, unprofessional, using her bodyguard for personal gain. And worse, one sponsor had frozen a major deal pending review of recent behavioral concerns. Her hands shook so badly she could barely hold the phone. A knock on her door. Micah's voice, tight with stress. "Ava, we need to talk." She opened the door. He stood there still dressed from yesterday, phone in hand, face drawn with exhaustion and something darker. Guilt, maybe, or fear. "I saw it," she whispered. "Someone was watching. Telephoto lens. They waited for the right moment and took the shot." His voice was flat, professional. The warmth from last night completely gone. "I should have checked the perimeter better. Should have seen the threat. This is my fault." "It's not." "It is." He met her eyes, and Ava saw pain there. Real, deep pain. "I let my guard down. Let personal feelings compromise my professional judgment. And now, you're paying the price." Ava's phone rang. Evan's name flashed on the screen. Micah gestured for her to answer. "Hello?" Evan's voice was clipped, angry. "I need both of you back in the city. Now, we have a situation." The drive back was silent and terrible. Micah drove with mechanical precision, his jaw tight, his eyes never leaving the road. Ava tried to speak to him twice. Both times he gently deflected, saying they should wait for Evan. When they reached Evan's office, Nadia and Miriam were already there. Both looked worried. Evan didn't waste time. "The photos everywhere. One sponsor has frozen a major contract. Others are monitoring the situation. And I'm getting pressure from my board about liability concerns." "What does that mean?" Ava asked, though she already knew. Evan looked at Micah. "I'm suspending you, pending review, effective immediately." "No," Ava started. "It's protocol," Evan said firmly. "Anytime personal involvement potentially compromises professional duty, we suspend pending investigation. I'm sorry, Micah. You're one of my best. But I have to protect the company." Micah's expression didn't change. He just nodded once. "I understand. You'll get a full hearing. Fair review. If everything checks out, you'll be reinstated. But right now, I need distance between you and Ms. Laurent for everyone's protection." "I understand," Micah repeated. Then he looked at Ava. "I'm sorry for all of this." "Don't apologize." "I have to." His voice was soft, but final. "This is on me. I crossed a line I shouldn't have crossed. You trusted me to keep you safe, and I let you down." "You didn't." Ava. Just her name. But the way he said it, full of regret and care and goodbye, made her chest crack open. I won't fight this in the press. Won't make this worse for you. I'll step back, take the suspension, and let you move forward without this complication. He turned to Evan, pulled his access badge and keys from his pocket, and set them on the desk. I'll submit a full report by end of day, Micah said. Everything documented. Timestamps, decisions, all of it. Professional and complete. Evan nodded, looking pained. I'm sorry, Micah. Don't be. You're doing your job. So am I. Micah looked at Ava one last time. Be safe. Follow the new guard's protocols. Don't take unnecessary risks. Then he walked out. Just walked out. Ava stood frozen, unable to move, unable to breathe, as the door clicked shut behind him. Ava, Miriam started. I need a minute, Ava whispered. Then she walked out into the hallway, found an empty conference room, and let herself break down. Because in the span of 12 hours, she'd found something real. And now it was gone. Friday afternoon felt like moving through fog. Ava sat in her townhouse office, staring at her laptop without seeing it. A new bodyguard, professional, efficient, completely not Micah, stood by the door. His name was Derek. He was perfectly fine. He just wasn't the person she wanted. Nadia brought tea. Miriam sat beside her, not saying anything. Just being there. I should work, Ava said finally. I have emails, calls to return. You should rest, Miriam said gently. I can't. If I stop moving, Ava's voice broke. I'll think about how I ruined everything. You didn't ruin anything. Miriam took her daughter's hand. You fell for someone good. That's not a mistake, Ava. That's brave. It cost him his job. It cost him a suspension. There's a difference. Miriam squeezed her hand. And if he's half the man I think he is, he'll land on his feet. Ava wanted to believe that, but all she could see was Micah's face as he walked out. The careful blankness, the professional distance, like he was already erasing what they'd had. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. I'm okay. Don't worry about me. Just focus on staying safe. Ava stared at the message. He'd texted from a different number. Probably a personal phone, not his work one. Even now, even suspended, he was checking on her. She typed back, I'm sorry for all of this. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, nothing to be sorry for. Get some rest. That was it. No promises, no plans. Just a gentle reminder to take care of herself. Ava set her phone down and tried not to cry. Friday night was the longest night of Ava's life. She tried the chamomile tea, tried the breathing exercises. Nothing worked. Her mind kept replaying the kiss on the porch, the warmth of Micah's hand, the way he'd said her name, the way it had all fallen apart. By Saturday morning, she'd slept maybe 2 hours. Nadia found her in the kitchen at 7, making coffee with shaky hands. You look terrible, Nadia said bluntly. Thanks. I mean it. When's the last time you ate? Ava couldn't remember. Nadia sighed, pulled out her phone, and ordered breakfast delivery. Then she sat down across from Ava and opened her laptop. I've been digging, Nadia said, into the original threats, the emails, everything. Why? We already know Blake was behind it. Yeah, but we need absolute proof. Documentation that clears Micah completely. Shows he did everything right from the start. Nadia turned her laptop around. And I found it. On the screen was an email chain. Internal communications from Summit Communications, dated before the threats even started. Clear discussions about creating a security need and positioning the client's preferred vendors. But there was more. Look at this memo, Nadia said, pointing. From Summit's CEO to Blake's family business. It explicitly mentions using fabricated threats to encourage dependency and restore influence over the Laurent account. Ava, this isn't just unethical. It's conspiracy. It's fraud. Ava's hands went cold. They put this in writing? Corporate people always think they're too smart to get caught. Nadia's smile was grim. They're not. What do we do with this? We take it to Evan. We show him that the original threats, the entire reason Micah was hired, were manufactured by Blake's people. Which means Micah never faced a real threat. He was set up from the start. Nadia leaned forward. This clears him, Ava, completely. Shows he acted with perfect professionalism in an impossible situation. Ava felt hope flicker in her chest. When can we meet with Evan? I already called him. Tomorrow, Sunday at 11, his office. Nadia reached across the table and squeezed Ava's hand. We're going to fix this the right way. Sunday morning, Ava dressed carefully. Simple black pants, white blouse, minimal jewelry. She wanted to look professional, serious, like someone who knew what she was asking for. Miriam met her at the townhouse at 10:30. You ready? I think so. Good, because I'm coming with you. Mom, I'm coming, Miriam said firmly. That man protected you, cared about you, and you care about him. So I'm going to make sure Evan understands what's at stake here. They drove to Evan's office in silence. Nadia was already there, laptop open, documents printed and organized. Evan looked tired but attentive. Show me what you found, he said. Nadia presented everything, the email chains, the memos, the timeline showing the fabricated threats. The proof that Summit Communications had orchestrated the entire situation to manipulate Ava back into Blake's sphere of influence. When she finished, Evan sat back heavily. This is damning. It's also proof that Micah acted appropriately throughout, Ava said quietly. He protected me from a threat that turned out to be fake. But he couldn't have known that. He did his job perfectly, and he got punished for it. He got suspended for personal involvement, Evan corrected gently. Personal involvement that happened off duty, during a moment when he was being human, not just a bodyguard. Ava met Evan's eyes. You said yourself he's one of your best. Don't lose him because of manufactured scandal and bad optics. Evan was quiet for a long moment, then he looked at Miriam. You have thoughts on this, Mrs. Laurent? I do. Miriam sat forward. I watched that man work for nearly a week. He was professional, skilled, and genuinely caring. He de-escalated situations that could have become violent. He made my daughter feel safe for the first time in months, and yes, they developed feelings for each other. But that doesn't erase his competence. It proves his humanity. She paused. If you let him go, you're not protecting your company. You're just being afraid of people talking, and fear is a terrible reason to lose good people. Evan rubbed his face. What are you asking for? Reinstatement, Ava said, with a clear statement that his conduct was reviewed and verified. No drama, no names, just facts. And the relationship? Ava took a breath. We'll disclose it to anyone who needs to know. We'll maintain professional boundaries during work hours, but we won't hide it. We won't pretend it doesn't exist just to make other people comfortable. Evan studied her. You're sure about this? About him? Yes. Even knowing it might cost you sponsors? Brand deals? Even knowing that? Ava's voice was steady. Because some things matter more than optics, and Micah is one of those things. Evan looked at the documents again, looked at Nadia's evidence, looked at Miriam's determined expression. I'll reinstate him, he said finally, with a statement clarifying that his conduct was appropriate and professional throughout. But there will be conditions, clear boundaries, written protocols about personal relationships and professional duty. Can you both live with that? Yes, Ava said immediately. Absolutely. Good, I'll call him this afternoon. Evan stood, extended his hand. For what it's worth, Ms. Laurent, I think you're making the right choice. Micah's a good man. He deserves this second chance. Thank you, Ava whispered. Outside, Miriam hugged her daughter tight. Now you just need to talk to him. I know. Want me to come with you? No, this one I need to do alone. Ava texted Micah from the sidewalk outside Evan's office. Can we talk? Privately? The response came fast. When? Now? If you're available. A pause. Then an address. A park near the marina, public but quiet. Safe. I'll be there in 30 minutes, Ava typed. Okay. She drove herself, Derek following in a separate car, giving her space, and arrived at the park at 5:20. The marina stretched out behind rows of benches, boats bobbing gently in their slips. Seagulls called overhead. Micah was already there. Sitting on a bench, dressed in jeans and a simple black jacket. He stood when he saw her, his expression carefully neutral. Hey, he said. Hey. They stood there awkwardly for a moment. Then Micah gestured to the bench. Want to sit? They sat, not touching. A careful distance between them. Ava's heart hammered. Evan called. Micah said quietly. Told me about the reinstatement, about the evidence Nadia found. Did he tell you the conditions? Yeah. New contract, 2 weeks, clear protocols about personal relationships and boundaries. He looked at her. And disclosure. Anyone who needs to know about us, Evan, your mother, Nadia, they know. No secrets, no hiding. That's what I asked for, Ava said. Is that okay with you? Micah was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I need you to understand something. I won't be hidden, won't be someone you keep in the shadows to protect your image or your brand. If we do this, if we try to make this work, then we do it honestly, in front of the people who matter. I agree. Even if sponsors pull out, even if there's gossip, even then. Ava turned to face him fully. Micah, I spent years managing my image, being what other people wanted me to be. I'm done with that. I'm done choosing optics over truth. If being with you costs me some sponsors, then those weren't the right sponsors anyway. Something in his expression softened. You're sure? I'm sure. Ava reached for his hand. He let her take it. I care about you. Really care. And I don't want to hide that. I want to live like the truth is enough. Micah's thumb brushed her knuckles. The truth is enough, as long as we both commit to it. I'm committed. Good. He smiled. Small, careful, but real. Then I'll take the job, and we'll figure this out. Together. Relief flooded through Ava so fast it made her dizzy. Really? Really. He squeezed her hand. But we do it right, professional during work hours, clear boundaries in public, and honest with everyone who matters. Can you live with that? Yes, absolutely yes. They sat there for a while, hands linked, watching the boats rock gently in the marina. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Everything felt fragile and new and terrifyingly hopeful. What happens now? Ava asked softly. Now I go home, review the new contract, and show up at your place tomorrow morning at 8. Micah looked at her. And we start fresh, clean, with everything on the table. I like that. Me too. He stood, helped her to her feet. For a moment they just looked at each other. Then Micah leaned down and kissed her forehead. Gentle, brief, but full of promise. See you tomorrow, Ava. See you tomorrow. She watched him walk away, her heart full and light for the first time in days. Monday morning, Micah returned to work. Ava stood in her living room at 8 o'clock, nervous and excited and terrified all at once. When the doorbell rang, she opened it to find Micah in his suit, professional and composed, holding a folder. Morning, he said. Morning. He stepped inside. Evan was there too, along with Nadia and Miriam. They all gathered in the living room for a brief meeting. New contract, Evan said, handing papers to both. Ava and Micah. 2 weeks, with option to extend, same professional protocols, but with an addendum about personal relationships and disclosure requirements. Ava read through it quickly. Everything was clear, fair, reasonable. She signed. Micah signed. Evan witnessed. Okay, Evan said. That's official. Micah, you're reinstated. Ms. Laurent, you have your protection detail back. Any questions? Just one, Miriam said. She looked at Micah. You'll keep my daughter safe? Yes, ma'am. Good. That's all I need to know. Evan left. Nadia excused herself to make calls. Miriam hugged Ava, whispered, "Be happy," and left too. Then it was just Ava and Micah, standing in her living room, everything official and new and somehow right. So, Ava said, what's the schedule today? Heritage Hall Gala tonight at 7. You're presenting an award. High profile, lots of press. Micah pulled out his phone. I've already reviewed the venue. We'll leave at 6:30, arrive through the main entrance for visibility, work the room professionally. Professionally? Ava repeated, smiling slightly. In public? Yes. Micah's eyes warmed. In private, we can be human. But at the gala, I'm your bodyguard. You're my client. Clear lines. I can do that. Good. He stepped closer, just slightly. But when we're here, like this, I'm just Micah, and you're just Ava, and we're figuring this out together. Ava reached up, touched his face gently. I like that plan. He caught her hand, kissed her palm. Me too. The Heritage Hall Gala was elegant and enormous. Crystal chandeliers, string quartet, 500 guests in formal wear. Ava wore a deep blue dress and carried herself with quiet confidence. Micah stayed 3 steps behind her, scanning crowds, checking sight lines, doing his job with the same careful precision he always had. To anyone watching, they were completely professional. Bodyguard and client, nothing more. But Ava felt his presence like a steady heartbeat. Knew he was watching not just for threats, but to make sure she was okay. Comfortable. Safe in every way that mattered. She presented the award to a local nonprofit. Gave a short speech about courage and integrity. The crowd applauded. Cameras flashed. Afterward, as she moved through the crowd, Miriam appeared at her elbow. You're glowing, her mother said quietly. Am I? You are. It's good to see. Miriam glanced at Micah, who stood nearby, unobtrusive but present. He's good for you, Ava. Really good. Not because he makes you safe, though he does, but because he makes you brave. Ava felt tears prick her eyes. Thanks, Mom. Don't thank me. Just be happy. That's all I've ever wanted. The gala ended at 9:40. Micah brought the SUV around to the back alley, away from the main crowd. Ava slipped out quietly, met him by the vehicle. Good work tonight, he said as he opened her door. You too. They drove 2 blocks. Then Micah pulled over in a quiet side street and turned to face her. We're off duty now, he said softly. If you want to be. Ava smiled. I want to be. He got out, came around, opened her door, offered his hand. Want to walk? Yeah, I do. They walked through quiet streets, under cafe lights and street lamps. Their hands found each other naturally, fingers lacing together. No cameras, no crowds, just 2 people walking through a city at night, talking about small, ordinary things. You hungry? Micah asked. A little. There's a diner 2 blocks from here. Best pancakes in the city. Pancakes at 10 p.m.? Best time for pancakes. He grinned. Trust me? I trust you. They ate pancakes at a corner booth, laughing over bad coffee and too much syrup. Ava told him about the nonprofit she'd honored. Micah told her about his sister's new puppy. They talked about weekend plans, Miriam's Sunday dinners. Whether Nadia would ever admit she was dating the gallery owner. Normal, easy, real. At 10:20, they walked back to the SUV. Micah drove Ava home, walked her to her door. "Tomorrow?" she asked. "Tomorrow. I'll be here at 8. Not too early?" "Never too early." He leaned down, kissed her gently. "Good night, Ava." "Good night, Micah." She went inside, locked the door, leaned against it smiling. Through the window, she watched him check the perimeter one last time, then drive away. And she realized something important. This was what love looked like when it was real. Not dramatic, not desperate. Just steady, honest, built on trust and small kindnesses, and choosing each other every single day. Tuesday morning, Ava woke to sunshine and her phone buzzing with good news. One of the sponsors who'd paused their contract had reinstated it. Another had reached out to discuss expanding the partnership. The gossip blogs had moved on to other stories. The worst of the storm had passed. At 9:30, Miriam hosted brunch at her house. Ava, Nadia, and Micah all came. Derek too, though he mostly stayed in the background, politely declining food. They sat in Miriam's sunlit kitchen eating scrambled eggs and fruit, laughing, planning, being normal. "I'm thinking about a small event next month," Ava said. "Something intimate, just close supporters and friends." "Sounds perfect," Nadia said. "Will you need security?" Miriam asked, smiling at Micah. "Depends on the venue," Micah said, "but probably, just to be safe." "Good, then you're invited too." He smiled. "Thank you, ma'am." After brunch, Micah drove Ava home, but instead of dropping her off, he said, "Feel like taking a drive?" "Where to?" "Coastal Overlook, about 40 minutes north. Beautiful views, good place to think." "Are you on duty?" "Not officially. Contract says off-duty time is negotiable." He glanced at her. "What do you say?" "I say yes." They drove north with the windows down, wind soft and salty. The coastal overlook was exactly as promised. Breathtaking views, quiet parking area, just a few other cars scattered around. They sat on the hood of the SUV, shoulder to shoulder, watching waves crash against rocks far below. "I've been thinking," Micah said, "about the future." "Yeah?" "When this 2-week contract ends, I want to extend it. Keep working for you, but also," he paused, "also keep building this. Us." Ava's heart swelled. "I want that too." "We'll need to keep being honest. About what works, what doesn't. About boundaries and balance." "I know. And it won't always be easy. There will be people who don't understand. Who think it's inappropriate or complicated." "Let them think what they want." Ava leaned against his shoulder. "I'm done living for other people's opinions." Micah kissed the top of her head. "Me too." They sat there for a long time, planning a quiet future. Weekends away, Sunday dinners with Miriam. Small moments strung together into something lasting. "Next weekend," Ava said, "let's take a real road trip. Just us, no schedules, no events." "Where do you want to go?" "I don't know. Somewhere quiet, somewhere we can just be." "I know a place. Mountains, little town with good hiking, even better coffee." "Perfect." They mapped it out on Micah's phone, planned stops, made a list of things to bring, laughed about Ava's terrible sense of direction and Micah's obsessive route planning. It was ordinary, comfortable, easy. It was everything. That evening, as the sun set over the ocean, Ava realized something important. Love wasn't about grand gestures or perfect moments. It wasn't about being fearless or flawless. It was about finding someone who saw you clearly and chose you anyway. Someone who showed up every day with honesty and care. Someone who made the ordinary feel extraordinary just by being present. Micah was that person for her, and she was ready, finally, completely ready, to build a life with him. One steady choice at a time. What are you thinking about? Micah asked. Ava smiled. That I'm really glad I answered those threat emails. Really glad I hired you. Really glad I trusted you. Even with everything that happened? Especially with everything that happened. She took his hand. Because it brought me here. To this. To us. Micah lifted her hand, kissed it gently. Then I'm glad too. They drove back to the city as the stars came out, talking and laughing and making plans. The future stretched ahead, uncertain in some ways, but solid in the ways that mattered. They had trust. They had honesty. They had each other. And that, Ava thought, was more than enough. 6 months later, Ava stood in her office, looking at the framed photo on her desk. Her and Micah at Miriam's birthday dinner. Both smiling, relaxed, happy. The last 6 months had been good. Not perfect, nothing ever was, but good, real, built on truth instead of optics. Her business was thriving. The sponsors who'd stayed were the right ones, people who valued integrity over scandal. She'd launched new initiatives, expanded her partnerships, built something she was genuinely proud of, and Micah was still there. Every day, her bodyguard and her partner. The man who kept her safe and made her brave. They'd learned to balance it, the professional and the personal. Work hours meant clear boundaries. Off hours meant just being together. It worked. Not because it was easy, but because they chose to make it work. Her phone buzzed. A text from Micah. Dinner at 7? That Italian place you love? Ava smiled. Perfect. See you then. She closed her laptop, grabbed her coat, and headed downstairs. Outside, Micah waited by the SUV, just like always. Hey, she said. Hey. He kissed her cheek. Good day? Great day. You? Same. They drove through the city toward the restaurant, talking about their days, making plans for the weekend. It was ordinary, normal. Exactly what Ava had been searching for without knowing it. Love that lasted wasn't built on drama or grand gestures. It was built on steady choices. Showing up. Being honest. Choosing each other through the boring, beautiful routine of everyday life. And that, Ava knew, was the best kind of love there was. The kind that made you feel safe. The kind that made you brave. The kind that turned ordinary moments into something extraordinary. The kind worth protecting. The end,